Hi, welcome to Reading with Ms. Momo. I have a special treat for you today. The whole month of December, I will be reading 2 books every week, one fun book and then one book about the birth of Jesus. And today I have a fun book. It's a classic. Each one will be a classic, and this is a real classic. I bet you can't guess what the book is. I have on my Santa hat, I have on my green gloves, I have on my Grinch pajamas, and if you have the book How the Grinch Stole Christmas, you might want to go get it and follow along with me, because that's what I'm reading today, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Join me now as I read How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Whoville down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. I like Christmas too, do you? But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight, but I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise, noise. There's one thing he hated, the noise. I don't think he likes noise, do you? Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand to the least. Look at all those Who's sitting down to eat their feast. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of the Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 43 years I've been put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Look at them all happy and singing. They don't know what he's planning. Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, and since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll just make one instead. So he called his dog Max, He took some red thread. He tied a big horn on top of his head. Look at him. He tied horns on Max, the dog, and made him be his reindeer. He was being creative, wasn't he? So the Grinch was a creative person. Then he loaded some bags and some empty old sacks. On a ramshackle sleigh, he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Get out!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a-snooze in their town. At their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the Grinchy claws hissed, and he climbed to the roof and emptied his fist. There he is, emptying his bag. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa can do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two, then he struck his head on the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first thing to go." And look, he's starting to take down the stockings. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room and took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly snuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimbley. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beef. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. He was taking everything. He was not going to leave them with anything. And then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up this tree." And look, there's the little tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove, and he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast. He saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou Who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd gotten out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" Bless her heart, she did not understand what he was doing. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light up on one side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And this fib fooled the child. He patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went up the chimney and stuffed the tree up. So he did give her some water and sent her to bed. The last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And one speck of food he left in the house was a crumb that was so little, even to a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. Not even a mouse could have a crumb. He did not leave anything. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. He has his sled packed full. Look at poor Max trying to be a reindeer. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip top to dump it. Pooh, pooh to the who's, was his Grinchulous humming. They're finding out now, no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up, I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. He's not being very nice at all. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And look at them, all happy and smiling and singing, even if they didn't have a present or anything else. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could this be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages or boxes or bags. He puzzled 3 hours till his puzzles was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't just come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And there he is, bringing it all back, and he's playing his horn. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. So, that mean, grumpy, lonely Grinch, who was lonely and sad and didn't know how to handle it, and handled it very poorly by being mean and hateful and doing many mean and hateful things. But guess what? A random act of kindness, a sweet little girl named Cindy Lou made a difference. She changed his heart. You know, there's hope for our world. There's hope for us at Christmas, because things can change. People can change. A random act of kindness, being nice, being sweet, showing people kindness is what Christmas is really about. It's not about the gifts. It's not even about the decorations. And this book tells us that. It's about being kind to the lonely, being nice to the poor, being kind and gentle and caring to other people, and singing Christmas songs and being happy, because at Christmas there's hope, joy, love, and peace. I wish those things for you this Christmas, and I hope you'll join me as I read more stories this month. Now, I would like for you to share and like and subscribe and click on the bell so that you will be reminded each time I read a new story. Until we meet again, smile and be happy, be kind and nice, especially to the lonely people. God bless. Have a great week.